Okay, well, welcome everybody to the first episode of the Deep Penetration podcast. And yes, you heard it right. It is called Deep Penetration, and there's a reason for that, right? First and foremost, if you don't know who I am, before I get into all of that, my name is Danny, and I am a self-esteem and love coach, and I focus on the LGBTQ plus community. Now, the reason for why I chose to create this podcast, to have a YouTube channel, to have a website, and all of those things is because for me, I think one of the things that I struggled with particularly was not really having any resources or tools when it came to understanding um, personal self-esteem, embracing individuality, really understanding how to navigate relationships and love within the queer community. I myself identify as bisexual, so it has been a journey in and of itself for me. But working with clients for a couple of years now and hearing what you guys have to say about what your concerns are, issues that you struggle with, that I've struggled with myself. I just wanted to create a place where we can all talk about it, honestly, and just have open and candid conversation about these topics and get you guys involved. Eventually, I would love to have people on this podcast, but because it is the first episode, it is just me. You're going to have to deal with it. But anyways, so deep penetration. The reason for why it's called that is because I just wanted to get deeper into certain topics, right? I think a lot of the times we hover on the surface when it comes to certain things, whether that's because we're afraid to just be very open and honest, or there is struggles when it comes to vulnerability. Maybe some of these topics are taboo. Whatever the case may be, it's about getting to the root of these things, to really understanding things a little bit deeper. And everybody loves a little bit of a pun, which is why I called it deep penetration. You will eventually get to know me, and I am full of puns. You can ask my videographer, George. I'm full of puns, aren't I, George? He had to say that a little bit loud because he's sitting back. But anyway, so welcome to the first episode of Deep Penetration. And today, what I wanted to talk about is something that actually comes up quite frequently in my one-on-one coaching sessions. And it has a lot to do with dating in particular within the queer community. I know that you guys have probably all heard this, have experienced it yourself, but it's essentially like, so the question that I get asked all the time, or what comes up all the time, is I have all the freaking different apps and I cannot seem to cultivate a serious relationship with somebody. Like, is it something that I'm doing wrong? Is it something that they're doing wrong? Like, is it my approach? Like, what is the issue? And because it's something that I deal with a lot with clients, I've given this a lot of thought. I've researched this a lot. I've had my own personal experiences. I've created entire courses and trainings when it comes to creating the perfect dating profile and really understanding how to navigate relationships within the queer community. But I would say the very first thing that you want to do is you want to narrow your search field. And what do I mean by that? So essentially, and I'm sure you can relate because I've done this myself, where you have like 5 or 6 different apps on your phone and you're constantly flipping back and forth between those apps. And what I have come to find is that essentially what happens is you just become uber distracted, and you start to lose sight of the reasons for why you downloaded the apps in the first place. So you can have Hinge and Tinder and Grinder and Scruff and all these different apps that are available to us, but we also have to keep in mind what purpose that app is serving us. And honestly, just kind of the types of people that go on these apps. Now, let me clarify. I'm not saying there is anything wrong with people who download Grinder, Scruff. I've been there, done that a million times over. It's more so about what you are looking for. So if you're looking for a serious relationship, it is not likely that you're going to find that on an app like Grinder or Scruff. It's not that it's impossible, because I definitely have friends that have, found their partner on these apps, but the likelihood of that is not very high. And the reason for that is because those apps are more geared towards hookup culture, essentially. Very quick fixes, one night stands, hit it and quit it type of situations. So narrowing your search field is going to help you to focus and draw your attention to that particular app. So what does that also mean? That means that it's going to allow you to create a higher quality profile. That means that you're not going to be getting constant messages on 5, 6, 7 different apps, flipping back and forth. And to be honest with you, half of the time, especially when I was on the dating apps, I would see the same individuals on all 4 different apps, and their profile would be completely different on every app. So, like, on Hinge, it would be a super serious profile of, like, looking for something serious, but then on Grindr, it would be like, walk in and do your business and walk out type situation. And for me, I was like, wait a minute. How are you the same exact person? But your needs are completely different depending on the app that you are on. So if that is you, I'm not judging you. All I'm saying is that if you are watching this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you're wanting to find a serious relationship, essentially. So narrow your search field, one app. That is what I suggest. Do one app. My recommendation usually is Hinge. I have found a lot of luck on Hinge. Personally, myself, I myself am in a committed relationship, and a lot of my clients have found a lot of success on Hinge as well. I am not working for Hinge. They do not sponsor me. It's just something that I feel I've seen a lot of success with, right? So the second thing here is it's a numbers game. And that's just the reality of the situation. When you go on these apps, as soon as you upload your profile, you are the new kid on the block, which means it is likely that you're going to get a lot of views and likes and swipes and matches and all of these different things. Um, and sometimes what ends up happening is you feel like you've gone through the gamut of all the individuals that are on the app, and then you kind of see the same faces over and over and over and over and over again. So there's different techniques and ways that you can modify your profile so you get to view more of a selection of people, so that the algorithm is tricked to think that you are actually a new user every week or every other week, so you get more of a selection. I've got all the tips and tricks. And honestly, if you want to know the tips and tricks, I would definitely consider the course that I created on dating apps, particularly in the queer community. But just saying. So, again, numbers game. You're going to go through a lot of people. And what I tell people to do during this period of time is to not just like incessantly swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe. It almost like it becomes subconscious where it's just kind of like this thing that you do. Actually invest the time in reading the profiles. Actually invest the time in trying to see if you can get any kind of read on this person just from their profile. Because by doing that, what you do is that you sharpen your gut and you sharpen your senses so that you're able to identify red flags that much quicker. What I oftentimes find is when we put ourselves out in the dating pool, right? Our gut instincts, although there, are not always very loud. Um, and we have a tendency of lowering our expectations because we have this image in our mind of the person that we're looking for. I can say just for myself that I have absolutely been there and done that before. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to find a serious relationship. I want to have somebody who is trustworthy and funny and, down to earth and all these different qualities. And then as soon as like the hottest guy on the app pops up, I'm like, forget all that shit. I'm going to focus on this person. And you lower your expectations. You drop your own personal boundaries and you stop prioritizing what it is that you are looking for. So making sure that you understand that it's going to be an investment of time, that there's going to be a multitude of people that you probably go through, but utilize that as the time to sharpen your gut, right? Your your ability to really read through the bullshit and find the person that seems to fit you best. So, in order to do that, we are going to talk about number three, which is having a very clear understanding of what it is that you are looking for. Um, what does that mean? Right? That can just be your general expectations. You should know what it is you are wanting in a relationship because you know yourself, your core values, and honestly, you can base it off of your previous experience in the dating world, right? Certain things that you know that you do not like, and certain things that you know that you're attracted to, and being very strict on those things, not allowing yourself to drop those expectations or lower your standards just because you see an individual who is physically um attractive and piques your interest, but nothing else really matches up with what you are looking for. um so reflect on your approach, right? Reflect on your mindset. Is it possible that you've become a little bit jaded during the dating process where you have been disappointed so many times that you almost adopt this casual approach to dating, which I also get. Dating shouldn't be a 40-hour plus a week job that you have to invest time into. But if you are looking for a serious relationship, it is going to be an investment of time. And sticking to your guns is going to be very, very important. I can't tell you how many times myself I've been on a dating app and I've seen somebody and I've been like, oh, I really want to match with this person or go on a date with this person, but I'm reading his profile and I'm like, this does not match up with what I am looking for. And I can particularly say that that was a big thing for me when I was younger. But once I passed my 30s, I was like, I'm looking for something more serious. I'm looking to settle down. I'm looking for those things that I know that I deserve and things that I know that I can bring to the table as well in this relationship. So once I stopped settling and once I really held strong on my expectations and my needs, and I was very communicative with those things, my profile reflected exactly what it is that I was looking for. I started to have much better luck. The quality of candidate was much higher. I matched with a lot of people who were looking for the same thing, which was a serious relationship, wanting to settle down, building a life together. And I can honestly say that it worked for me particularly. I don't just talk about these things because I research them endlessly and I work with clients day in and day out. And I do this for a living, but it's also based on personal experience. So, I followed all of these strategies and these steps. What I tell clients to do, I did it myself. And it's been almost 10 months now that I haven't had the dating app because I'm in a committed relationship and I found somebody based on me following essentially my own rules. So if this is you and you feel like, you are struggling to find that serious relationship, number one, I empathize with you. I know how difficult it can be to put yourself out there and to feel like you are endlessly rejected or ghosted or catfished or the gamut of things that we face when we are dating. But the one thing that I tell people all the time is patience is key. Being very set on your goals and knowing what it is that you're trying to achieve, not settling for less, having very clear expectations, not distracting yourself with, again, multiple different apps because that pulls your focus in so many different directions. And the primary thing is knowing and understanding that you are good enough, that you are more than good enough. And there is somebody out there who is going to appreciate you for who you are and is going to see you and understand you and want to be in a relationship with you. But in order for that to happen, you have to be okay with yourself. You have to feel good about yourself. When you put yourself out on in the dating pool, do it when you are feeling at your best. Oftentimes, I see people, download dating apps because they're lonely or they're seeking validation or they're just not in a good place emotionally or they just got out of a relationship. And essentially, what ends up happening is that you start to classically condition yourself to utilize these apps as a coping mechanism. And what that does is that creates instant gratification, right? So you have somebody who matches with you, they're super attractive, they're talking to you, you feel good in that moment, you get that validation, and then you're over it and you're on to the next. So I always want to ensure that your mindset is in the right place when you are downloading these apps and that you are very clear on what it is that you are looking for. So if you are not clear on what it is that you are looking for, don't download the app. You're not ready. Invest the time and reflect and work on self-development and really just kind of getting to know you and loving yourself. To be super cliche and quote Mama Ru, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, how the hell are you going to love somebody else if you don't love yourself, essentially, right? Um, that is key when it comes to dating. So, like yourself, love yourself, be attracted to yourself, enjoy your own company. That way, others will be attracted to those qualities as well because self-esteem and self-confidence goes a very, very, very long way. And the one thing that I find super attractive in somebody is their ability to be vulnerable and open. And interestingly enough, actually, I have a statistic here from when I was researching and creating this dating course. And according to a recent statistic published by OkCupid, gay men were amongst the highest percentage of users looking for a serious relationship. So 67% versus 64% of heterosexual users. And according to the data collected, 9 out of 10 LGBTQIA plus daters on the app that said they are more sensitive, right? So the ability to be more vulnerable and more open received 107% more likes, 80% more matches, and 113% more conversations. So essentially, what this indicated was vulnerability was something that was found to be incredibly attractive. So if you struggle with vulnerability and you're afraid to be yourself and you're afraid to kind of express yourself, there's no reason to be afraid, right? It's actually what people find to be more attractive. So if you feel the need that you have to put on this facade or pretend to look a certain way or be a certain way, and you create your app to try to satisfy what you think somebody else is looking for, you're already not starting off the right way. So pull back, focus on you. And like I said, be in a good spot when you decide to download the dating app. And I promise you that that will change the game for you completely. You will start to see the matches that you're looking for, and you'll start to attract quality men. I hope you guys enjoyed the information that I provided for you. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Obviously, it is the first episode, so there are many more episodes that will be coming down the pipeline. We will talk about everything and anything from dating to self-esteem to coming out to embracing individual identity and sexuality and all of those things. For me, there's no topic that should not be covered and will not be covered. I am hoping to have some guests on the show so we can, talk about specific subject matter that maybe, you would find interesting. And if you enjoy this podcast, if you're listening, if you're watching, make sure you are subscribing to the podcast. And I will see you guys in the next episode.